Hey guys, we've got something different for you today. We've got a Toyota 86 that we're going to pull the standard exhaust off and put this 2.5 inch stainless system on. It's a 2013 86. It's got a nice set of wheels. It looks good. It's a pretty good looking car. I haven't had a lot to do with these cars, so it's cool to get it up in the air and have a look and just compare how much is Subaru and how much is Toyota. The exhaust system we've got, what's the brand? Parent. It's a Parent stainless steel exhaust system. It looks really good. It's V-band. It's just a catback system. So we're going to put it on and hear what this boxer sounds like. So the exhaust is all on. It was nice and easy to fit, bolted straight up. So we put a new gasket. It was a second-hand exhaust. I don't know if I mentioned that. It was in really good condition. Flick, who's the owner of the car, she got it from down at Brisbane for like a quarter of the cost of a new one, so, which is a really good buy. So we're about to start it up and see what it sounds like. Righto guys, so the 86 sounds pretty sweet. Hopefully you can hear it in the video. It's a pretty nice car, I do like them. I think they'd make a great sort of entry-level drift car. There's a few upgrades that you definitely need to do. You can tell that a lot of it isn't Toyota, but it's still an awesome car. Now we finished that for today, we're going to move on to the Skyline. So we're going to get it ready for GTR Fest. Now I'm definitely going to be at GTR Fest next week guys, so come up and say hello. Whether I've got the car or not, I'm not sure yet. We're going to get it ready. I'm going to try and get it transported down during the week. I can't get time off work to drive it down, so hopefully we can get it down and I'll fly down there and see you guys there. Okay, so one thing that we've been waiting on for the Skyline for probably 6 months now, which is no big deal. I understand there's a massive shortage of parts, which is really affecting the Sylvia build. We're just trying to find parts that are in Australia or even in the States that we can get in. With the GTR, when we first did it with the valve cover and the catch can, I was waiting on the Radium fittings. So Radium Engineering do this really good RB26 valve cover fitting. That's it there. And it's quite, as you can see, you press it in and it sits quite low. So I ordered these a long time ago, but unfortunately they've taken a little bit of time to get here. But thanks to the Radium Engineering guys, they do a great product. Probably actually one of the best products you can get from those guys is for all your fuel system. If you can build your fuel system out of Radium Engineering stuff, it's going to be mint. So what these do here is, with our old Aeroflow fittings, is they are great and they do work, but when you're using -12AN, it sits too high. And you can just see there, it just rubs on the bonnet and it's starting to rub through. So luckily these turned up just in time for GTR Festival, and they're going to sit in there like that, nice and low, and give us plenty of clearance to the bonnet. So yeah, well, you have to remove the valve covers to get them off, press them out, and then we actually freeze these. So I'll go and put these in the freezer now to get them nice and cold, and then we'll warm up the rocker covers so they're nice and big, and then we just, with a soft face hammer or a vise, just tap them in. Okay guys, so another thing I want to show you that we're going to well, do an addition to the Skyline is we're going to fit this Raceworks Flex fuel sensor. Now, I'm always going to probably run the car on C85, the ethanol fuel, but next time I go get it tuned, which will be for the VCAM, which might be coming up shortly, I want to get it tuned on like an MS109 Flex fuel, or maybe just a pump gas with the C85. And that way I don't have to completely drain the tank every time I want to swap tunes. However, the 85 is that good that I don't think I will ever swap tunes. But yeah, shout out to Raceworks, who have really helped us out actually lately. So they've given us this awesome product. Now this is a Dash 8 fuel flex sensor and the mounting brackets. Now what it does is it takes your standard 3.8 flex fuel sensor, which looks like this one here. Okay, so it's got your 3.8 quick clip fuel clips that go on to hold the hose on. Now what we want to do is this goes in our return line, and all the flex fuel sensor has to do is just get a sample of that fuel returning to the tank. So Raceworks offer this awesome sort of, I don't know what you call it, awesome sort of gadget or awesome sort of fitting that actually bolts into your fuel line. So you just cut your Dash 8 line, pull it apart, put your normal fittings, so your 200 series braided flex fittings, you just put on there. I'm big on having fuel supply and fuel return lines. If you're going to use Dash 8 supply, use Dash 8 return. I don't know why guys use a smaller return hose. There really needs to be bigger because there's no sort of pressure in there. So it needs to sort of flow really good. Thanks to Raceworks for really coming on board and helping out. And thanks to Jamie, who come up to us at Rocky Nuts and was kind enough to give us these awesome lightweight Raceworks guard covers, which we use on the GTR. Last time we went out was to Apex Collective's drive day last weekend, and I hadn't emptied the catch can since the dyno, since it was down at DVS tuning, and I knew the catch can must be getting full, and it doesn't fill up with oil. It's got no blow by at all. It fills up with condensation. So there is a little bit of oil in there, but obviously halfway back from the drive last weekend I just started blowing oil under the car everywhere, so it's made a massive mess. So lesson learned, always drain your catch can. The C85 has the lowest H2O level out of all ethanol fuels, but I get a lot of condensation from it. So we're going to empty the catch can now and see how much is in there. You can see there that it's just condensation and a bit of blow by, but it's a pretty big, well actually it's not a very big catch can, it's a good size. Most of it's condensation. It never used to have any blow by oil at all on MS109, but that was at 550 horsepower. Now we're well over 600. It's obviously breathing a bit heavier. I'm going to do some oil samples, send them away, and just make sure that there's not a heap of fuel content in it. If it's just condensation, then that's great. Familiar or you guys are with RB26s, but if you're not so familiar, a hot tip, when you sort of go over the 450, 500 horsepower and they start to breathe heavy, you got to fit a catch can, obviously. If you don't, and there's, I'm not saying you have to, but the crankcase ventilation, it will breathe from the crankcase back up into the rocker covers, and a lot of oil gets stored up in these rocker covers, and what will happen is it will actually get sucked back into the intake through the PCV valve or the PCV valve hose, and you'll end up just blowing a lot of smoke and filling your intake up with oil, which is not good, especially the individual throttle bodies. You don't want to get oil in there. So what we do, or what I did with this one, is I fitted a Mines triple flow baffle kit, which is inside the rocker cover itself. It's got a plate on it which is silicon in, and you fill it up with sponges, and what it does is it stops the oil from being stored up in the rocker covers. We also moved these splash guards here, so these come out standard on the front of an RB26. And what happens is you put these on here because that's where your two crankcase breathers go to your catch can. So if you put these here, it sort of stops the oil flicking straight up at it, but they're actually covered by a plate anyway. So it's sort of here that the oil flicks up and goes in past the sponges and up through. But it is a neat trick. If you don't have the Mines the baffle kit in, move these to the back so you can simply just undo one at a time. You can leave the cam in. Just make sure you torque them down to the spec, because it is the caps for the camshaft, so make sure you get them to spec. They are brand new, but you can sort of see there that oil's been leaking straight past. But yeah, so I've had oil leaking past those, and it's not much, it's just a tiny drip. So we'll silicone these back in, or I've got some new ones anyway. These are quite soft. I'll put some harder ones in. But yeah, everything looks really good under here. I've had this off recently anyway. We checked all the shims just to make sure they were okay. So yeah, pretty cool. One of the issues we've found with running C85 fuel is that I've noticed this is the oil that I've always used in the car since it was rebuilt. So I've always used Royal Purple 1040, which is a great oil. I've used it before in a lot of my cars, and every time I change the oil, it used to come out like really purple and clean. It never used to dirty. As soon as we run the C85, I did an oil change and I noticed that it was just black and quite thin. So I'm going to do an oil sample, which is one of these. So what you do is you just take a sample of your oil without contaminating it with your hands or anything, and you put it in this jar. We send it off to a science lab down south. They do analysis on it. They work out how many parts per million it's got: metal, silicon, calcium, or water, or fuel in this case. So what I'm hoping is that it's not getting fuel in the oil, which is making it thin. If it's just a bit of water, that's fine. The C85 produces a little bit more condensation than the MS109, so that'll be fine. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is this Royal Purple I didn't know, but that's not E85 sort of suited. So we're going to swap over to Penrite 1010s Racing, which is suitable for E85. So any of that sort of discoloration, which I hope that's all it is, and the oil sample will tell us that. If it's just a discoloration, then we'll swap over to this stuff and we should be good to go. Okay, so what we've got to do is we've got to remove these Aeroflow fittings. There's nothing wrong with the Aeroflow ones, it's just simply that they sit too high. So what I'm going to do is carefully sort of heat them up. I've got the new Radium engineering ones in the freezer, so I'm going to just warm up this casing enough to sort of let it expand without burning the paint or damaging it, and hopefully they press out pretty easy. Sorry about the change in quality. I've had to go back to the GoPro to film this last bit. The filmer had to take off. Left me with the trusty GoPro to get some footage. So what we're doing is, just straight back to it, is I've removed the RB26 valve covers off, and I'm changing out those top fittings to Radium engineering fittings. Now, the reason that Angus had to take off was it was taking me a really long time to get the press fittings out. Now, this press fitting here is obviously, yeah, it's pressed in there, but I was having so much trouble getting it out. I know that when I put it in, I probably should have cleaned it up a little bit so it wasn't so tight, but I pressed it in and that's what we're up to. So I finally got this one out. Now what I had to do is actually cut the top of it off and cut a couple of slits in it with the reciprocator, and it just fell out. So there's no damage done to the rocker cover. The rocker covers, or valve cover I should say, in Australia, is fine. You can see the Mines baffle kit down in there is doing its job. I put a rag in there first so no metal filings could fall in. If you're going to do it that way, make sure you do not get any metal filings in there. It should blow back into the catch can, but just don't do it, just in case a bit of metal goes in, and oh, that would suck. Yeah, I'm gonna get this other fitting out now. I'm gonna put the camera down and just press this one out. And what we're gonna do is put the Radium engineering ones in. Now, everyone's gonna have their own way of fitting these Radium engineering pressing fittings. So I'm not gonna try and tell you how to do it. I'm just gonna show you guys how I do it. Hopefully it helps you. What I do is just warm up this with a heat gun or whatever you wanna use. I use a heat gun because it's less aggressive and it doesn't burn anything. Unless you hold it really close, it's not going to burn. To get some real warmth in them, to let the openings or holes expand. Now there's two ways you can do it. The first way is block of wood in there and tap them in, okay? Second way, I do that way first. The second way, or you can do it this way first if you want, but that is to get a vise ready. So just get some soft jaws in your vise, have it opened up ready, and then you can just sort of use the vise as a press. I've had these sitting on some ice now and in the freezer for a few hours, so they are nice and cold. If you're short on time or you don't have a freezer, you can also get this stuff here, which is awesome. It's a Worth product called Rust-Off Blue Ice. And what you do is you actually spray it onto the fitting, like so, and when it goes blue like that, it normally takes a while, but this is cold. When it goes blue, you know you're ready to fit it. So get it nice and cold. Give it a wipe dry. So this one here has got a bit of heat in it, nothing too special, and hopefully it just goes straight in. The last one's in. I actually think the best way to do it was with the wood. It was a little bit hard to get it lined up with the socket. It still worked, but always work. And look at that, check that out, they swivel. So that's pretty sweet. What we're gonna do is probably on this back wall over here, is we're just gonna cover that wall in Raceworks like -10, -8 fittings, or your AN style fittings. We're gonna cover that wall so I don't have to order them in. Okay, so I ran out of time last night working on the car. It just got too late. So what I did was just put the rocker covers back on to cover them up overnight, just left them sitting there. But what I've gone ahead and done is I've already fitted one of the valve covers already. I'll go through it with you how I do it. These can be a little bit tricky. And in fact, I did find one problem that may explain something when we went down south to Sydney last time. Everything in here is clean and dry. Use plenty of brake cleaner. Be careful of the brake cleaner on the paint, obviously. Always use new rocker cover seals. Always don't reuse them. The reason being is once they've squashed down and they've been like gone through a few heat cycles, that gasket is then essentially buggered. Like you could put a heap of silicone on it, which brings me to the next part, but you do not need silicone on rubber valve cover gaskets or sealants, whatever you want to call them. The only places that you need a tiny bit of sealant is in the corners, so there and there, and just across the half moon at the back. It's entirely up to you. If you want to go ahead and use solid half moons, go for it. I don't recommend it, because what happens is you'll get a leak at the back of the cylinder head. It drops onto the bell housing, it makes a hell of a mess, and then it looks like you got a rear main gone, and all it is just the half moons on the valve covers. So here's a funny thing with the way I run my valve covers. I don't actually use genuine Nissan hardware. So I actually use this product here, which is a aluminium bolt, a zinc plated bolt with a little aluminium collet or olive, whatever you want to call it. That's it there. These work great, however, they come loose. The Nissan factory ones are actually like a rubber seal, so there's a little bit of give in them, and yeah, there's two things that with this hardware. You can get valve cover noise, which can be mistaken for a noisy injector or a noisy valve or just noise in the top end. It's a fairly simple thing, like this is not rocket science, we're just doing valve covers. However, you can do it wrong, and that's the thing with RBs, like They're not like any other engine where you can just throw shit together. They are a race-bred machine. RB, that's what it stands for, race-bred, and you have to treat them like that. So do everything properly, do it by the book. If you've done it for years, you'll know all your little tricks and nicks and tricks and knacks to do it. But yeah, that's where we're at now. What I do is simply just put a light sort of bead straight down there, like that. Okay, so just, yeah, put a bead straight through there. Don't put too much, just clean off what you don't need. Just friend in the States, shout out Joe, he's got an awesome R32 build. Yeah, he's done a great build. His engine looks fantastic. It's definitely Nori factory spec. He's done a really good job. Now he's running the exact same turbos as what we have, Garrett 2867R, which is the billet version of them. Now they're quite an expensive turbo. However, my turbos are actually from GCG. Now GCG buy Garrett turbos and then high flow them, put billet compressor wheels, do all that sort of stuff. So Joe in the States has got a R32 with an RB26 stroked out to a 28, so a 28 with VCAM with the twin turbos. Now on pump gas he's producing 500 wheel horsepower, that's amazing, because he's gonna, on ethanol he'll get another 100 horsepower, I would say. Now being VCAM is going to come on a lot better than mine, but what I want to get to is we have the exact same turbos except mine are from GCG. They come with a different wastegate actuator, which I messaged Joe and Joe put that on his turbo. Makes a huge difference, but it's all in the front compressor wheel housing. I'll try and get a photo up and put it here now to show you. But they are different turbos, okay? So GCG, get them from Garrett, then they high flow them, put the billet wheels in and do what they do. Now my little RB26 with no VCAM on ethanol with those turbos is 640 horsepower at the wheels. So Joe with his 2.8 VCAM is getting 500 on pump gas. So they're gonna be very close, but I would say these turbos, for a 26, an RB26 is producing about 40 to 50 horsepower more than Joe's. That's when Joe gets his on ethanol. So GCG do great turbos, shout out to those guys. I will be buying my next turbos from those guys for the Sylvia. I would always use Garrett turbos. I know they don't sound like HKS or you know, whatever you want to, Greddy's or Trust or whatever. The fact is Garrett are the supreme leader in turbos, and when GCG get them and do that and make that much more horsepower, it's just incredible. So shout out to those guys, a little bit of information for you, and shout out to Joe, his build is awesome. Well done, Joe. Okay, so we got the valve covers back on, it's all back together. What I'm going to do now is drain the oil out, get rid of the royal purple. When we had this built, we were very lucky enough to work with CES, which is Custom Exhaust Systems. Trevor, who's down in Brisbane. Now Trevor is known over Australia for doing the most amazing exhaust systems. Unfortunately, Trevor had a stroke about 2 years ago now, but prior to that, we used to get all our stuff done through him, and he had already started a set of R32 GTR unequal down pipes, so unequal mid pipe and twin 3.5 inch dump pipes. I know that sounds nearly like it's impossible, but there is twin 3.5 inch dump pipes down to 4 inch, which then goes to 5 inch all the way through. So there's definitely an amazing exhaust, and there's definitely heaps of flow. And you can also see that Trevor does the external wastegate pipe, and he puts a separator up in where the turbo bolts up. There's a separator put there to stop the wastegate exhaust going down the main pipe. Now that the oil's draining, I'm going to do, because we're changing oil, always do a sump flush. Now what a sump flush is say the RB26 holds 8 litres in total. So what I'll do is drain it out completely. I'll get 2 or 3 litres of the new oil, just enough for the oil pickup to pick it up. Okay, put it in the sump. I only want to put 2 or 3 litres in, as I said. So get 2 or 3 litres in, start it up, let it get oil pressure, let it run for 30 seconds, no more. 30 seconds is heaps. And then drain the oil again. That will get all the oil that's sitting up in the valley and sitting up under the rocker covers, in the cams, all the galleys through the motor. It'll flush it out with the new oil. Just put about 2 or 3 litres in. So we're going to start it up, get oil pressure, and then we're going to flush that oil out. There we go, it's got oil pressure. Okay, turn him off. I'm like OCD, so I just check for leaks. We've got nothing down there. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera down and check oil, but that's how you do it. Okay, so she's all back together. Run up fresh oil in it. Gave it a flush. Highly recommend, if you're ever changing oil, to do that half sump flush. That's what we call it. It's golden now, and it stay golden. I've had the car running for a while now, so it's nice clean oil. Done a filter change, cleaned everything up. Pretty much ready for the GTR first of all. I really hope we can get down there. If I can't get down there with the car, I'm definitely gonna fly down there. So if anyone's watching, come say hello for sure. I'll have some stickers and shirts with me, so that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, the car is looking awesome. Overall, there's not a lot left to do to it for me to be happy with it. I mean, we drained the catch can and cleaned it. We've done the valve covers, which was good. Fit the Radium engineering fittings. The wiring loom I need to double check for oil temp, which is nothing too big. Flex fuel sensor, no big deal because I don't have a flex fuel set up yet. And a dash, I want to calibrate the IC7 dash. I'm not over the moon with it. I've done a Raceworks order. Shout out to those guys, Jamie, helping us out, thank you. So I've just done it for some dash AN12 fittings to finish off the catch can, which is over here. So this is the Radium fittings now, which is swivel, which is pretty awesome. And look how low they are. The other ones used to actually be up and hit on the bonnet. So these things are epic. I don't know which way I'm gonna have them yet. I'll probably have them like facing back so you can see more of the cover. I'm gonna get this cover filled in. This plate's cool, but I think it'd be cool to get it welded up and painted all the same color. So I've just got to run 2 -12 AN lines straight across to the catch cans. Turbos are looking good. I've had all the fronts off and checked them out. It was good to just give the whole car an overall inspection, like give it a good check over. So that's us, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, do all that stuff. It's been fun. This has been a fun one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments. And yeah, don't forget to have fun.